getting different answers. Let me show you what I did.
We're gonna look for problems.
My first
What's going on with this first one? What's wrong? The way that she... You can go ahead and just type it into the chat because I know we have our cameras off since we're... What's wrong with what she's... Violet, what's wrong? What did she do wrong when you measured? Well, it's not about it not being a 1. Look at how that pencil is next to the ruler. So if you see, the ruler is just sitting there straight, right? But look at the pencil. Part of the pencil is right next to the ruler, which is good. You should have it right next to the ruler to measure correctly. But look at the eraser end. The eraser end is super far away from the pencil. There's all this space there. So the pencil is sitting crooked right now. If you're going to measure something and you want to see how long it is, you need to make sure that when you're measuring it, that it's not crooked. If it's crooked, you're going to get a different answer. And Jada, make sure we have our cameras off.
Hi, everybody.
But that's our problem. She's trying to measure the pencil, but instead of putting the pencil straight and right next to the ruler, she's got it crooked. So she's not going to get the correct length. Let's look at this next example.
first try, I got 6 inches. Do you see something wrong? My second try, I got 8 inches. Do you see something wrong?
Okay, what's wrong this time?
I know.
Jadine, what do you think? What was wrong this time?
It always has to start at the 0 and it's starting at 1.
Perfect. Whenever you measure something, you should always start measuring with 0. But this time, she did get the pencil straight. It's right next to the ruler, but she started it at 1. Whenever you measure something, you should always start measuring at the 0.
On my third try, I got 18 inches. Do you see something wrong?
Now this is kind of related to what we talked about yesterday. What do you think is wrong here? Nakai, what do you think she did here?
She turned the roller over and now she's doing the centimeters instead of the inches. You're supposed to use the inches for the pencil.
So she wanted to measure using inches, but she's using the wrong side of the ruler. The side sheet, centimeters. And since they're asking for inches, we should be using the... Alien, for right now, make sure you have your camera off so we can watch the video.
Oh, I think I understand. So I have to make sure I line up the object with the ruler. I have to start right at 0, and I have to pay attention to the unit to make sure that I'm using inches and not centimeters.
So this last one, pay attention to the unit, is really important because sometimes they're going to ask us to measure in inches. Sometimes they're going to ask us to measure in centimeters. We need to remember, we need to be careful about which one we're using. Sometimes we're going to use centimeters. Sometimes we're going to use inches. We need to make sure we're using the correct side of the ruler. Now the other two we got, you always start measuring at 0, whether you're measuring centimeters or inches. You always start with 0. And Again, whether you're measuring using centimeters or inches, you always make sure that whatever you're measuring, that you line it up with the ruler. It shouldn't be crooked or far away or anything like that.
Not centimeters? Okay, so let's see. I put my pencil straight across the ruler. I started right at 0. And I made sure that I was using inches and not centimeters. So the pencil is 7 inches long. Awesome! Thanks for helping me learn how to measure. Maybe when you try to measure, you can use these same rules.
All right, so we're going to practice measuring right now. In your math packets, I want you to look
What kind of math packet?
the packet of math papers next that we have.
The skills?
Nope. The ones we're looking for on the front, it says week 2 length. That's the ones we're looking for. We're going to find that paper, week 2 length. We're going to be using that to practice measuring, just like she was. We're also going to make sure that we need a ruler because we are going to be measuring. Chase, you asked the other day about the ruler that...
Can we turn on our cameras?
Hold on, Nakai. I'm sorry, I'm talking, sir. Just let me
Okay,
finish and
sorry.
then you can ask your question. Make sure that you have a ruler. And Chase, you were asking yesterday, there is that paper that was inside the packets. You can use that to measure. It's a little bit easier if you have a regular ruler to use, but if you don't, you can use that other paper with the other ruler. Okay? But make sure you have that paper. Make sure you have a ruler. Yes, Nakai, we can go ahead and turn our cameras back. So this is the packet we're looking for. And we're going to be on the very first page. It says measuring inches 1.
What does the front look like again?
What's up, Kylie?
Where's that one paper?
That should be in the math packet. It says week 2 length.
The new one, right?
Yeah, we don't need the old one for anything anymore.
Okay.
I don't know where that roller paper is.
If you have a regular ruler, you can just use that.
I don't.
Okay. It should be there in your math packet. I think it's at the end of the math packet. It's either at the end or the beginning.
Found it.
Found it? Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to be using that first page. Measuring inches. Look through the math packet, Messiah. It'll be in there. Really carefully. Since the page is called Measuring Inches 1, we're going to be using inches. So on your ruler, whatever kind of ruler you're using.
This one?
Is that the page that I had, Nakai?
I forget.
Well, why don't you open it up and see? If it matches, then you've got it. Again, on the front cover, it should say week 2 length. It says week 2 length on the cover. Got it. Yes, Kaylee. Do you have a question? Okay. No, I wouldn't cut out the ruler, Chase. Leave it on the whole page. If you cut it, you might accidentally bend it or lose it or things like that, especially since it's paper. Look for the paper, Messiah. It's inside the math packet. I know it is. It'd also be where you normally put your math packet if the paper fell out, but it'll be in there. So this page says measuring measuring inches 1. So on my ruler, I'm going to make sure that the side I'm looking at is the inches side. I'm going to start with problem A, the first problem. Just like we saw in the video, I'm going to make sure that I start off at 0. I'm going to see how long that first line is. Now my ruler, since it's clear, I can kind of line it up a little bit easier. But if you're using a ruler that isn't clear or like that paper, use the bottom of the line to make sure you're lined up to 0, and then see where the other line. If you've got a clear ruler, you can go all the way up to the line. If not, if your ruler isn't clear or see-through, or you're using the paper, then just move it down a little bit and you can use the bottom of those, beginning at the end. How long is this first line? How many inches is this first line? Alexa?
4 inches.
4 inches. So on my line here, I'm going to write 4. Okay, not so bad. I'm going to check with B now. Same thing. Still measuring with inches, so I'm still going to use the inches side. I'll line up my ruler. Now this one I noticed something interesting. The last line, line A, it was pretty perfectly on that 4. But this time, line B, it doesn't really line up to the 4 or the 5. It's somewhere in the middle. Exactly in the middle of the 4 and the 5. If it's exactly in the middle, what do you think I should put? I can't put 4 inches because that's too short. I can't put 5 inches because that's too long. So what should I put? Haley?
4.5.
4.5. 4, and then I'm going to write the fraction. 1/2. 4 and 1/2. Because it didn't get all the way to the 5, but it was definitely past that 4. Since it's halfway there, I can put 4 and 1/2. Ooh. C. C has a similar problem. This time it's a little bit closer to the 5. Jadine, what do you think?
5.5.
Not 5.5 because it didn't pass the 5 yet. But I like your idea, using the fractions. Exactly what I need. I'm going to show you something, okay? So here's the 4. Here's the 5, right? Here was 1/2. So it went past the half, didn't it?
Yes.
Okay. What if I cut these halves in half? So I'm going to use my ruler. If I look, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, 8. So 8 lines. If I cut 8 in half, how many lines would I use?
4.
4. So I'm going to count 4 lines. 1, 2, 3. Then from here, I'm going to count 4 lines again. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Well, now I don't have 2 pieces, right? I have how many pieces now? How many boxes do I have?
Yeah, 4 boxes.
4 boxes. So my line went past the first box. It went past the second box. And it doesn't line up perfectly, but it's very, very close to lining up with this third box. Right?
Yes.
So it's not 4.5 because it's a little bit too big for that. It can't be 5.5 because 5 is too big. What this would be is 4 and 3 out of 4. 4 and 3/4. Because I had 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes. And I used 1, 2, 3 boxes out of the 4.
Okay. I see.
But very good idea using the fractions. Exactly what we needed. Whenever it doesn't line up perfectly, unless it tells us to measure it to the nearest inch or the nearest centimeter, we can use fractions to help us measure too. Let's try problem D. Well, problem D passes the 4 again, but this time it's a little shorter, a little closer to the 4. Well, let's try that again with the boxes. Here's 4, here's 5. And every 4 lines, I'm going to make a box. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 1 box. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes. Check that out. This one lines up pretty nicely. How many boxes did I use out of my 4 boxes? Alexa, how many boxes did I use?
1.
1. So this line would be 4 and 1 out of 4. Or 4 and 1/4. So especially when we're measuring things, fractions can come in handy because, like we see here, not everything is going to line up perfectly to 1 inch or 2 inches or 3 inches. Sometimes it's going to be somewhere in the middle. And if we use fractions, it can help us get a better measurement. Yes, Jadine?
E, like number letter E. I'm measuring it right now with my ruler and it doesn't pass the 0.
Well, the 0 you control. Because you put the 0 where you want to start measuring. Do you see my 0 right here?
Yes.
So I can move the ruler wherever I want it to. But since I'm measuring this line, I need to make sure the 0 is at the beginning of that line.
Yes.
So the 0 you get to decide where the 0 goes. The rest of it is where you have to see, does it line up correctly?
Okay.